Hi there, I'm Sarah McDevitt. I'm at 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue, and I'm here to just let you know that I take my kids to the MOCA all the time. My kids have attended camp at the MOCA for the last 3 years running, and this year I was hesitant because I didn't know what the camps would be like, but I went ahead and enrolled my kids in camp, and I'm happy to report that they're having a wonderful experience. The staff is as good as, if not better than ever before, and I'm really, really excited to see all the things that are happening at the MOCA under, I know, the constraints that they're working with. Not nearly the staff they had, none of the experience they had, and they're doing a wonderful job. So I would just like to say that the MOCA is important, and we need to keep funding it, and we need to keep believing in the great work they're doing. Thank you.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. Please. Any comments or questions from the dais, please?
Yes, I'd like to ask a couple questions, if I may.
Go ahead, go ahead.
This council, with a little change, made a firm commitment when our MOCA got hijacked, divorced, whatever you want to call it. But we did make a firm commitment that we were going to see this through, and we have got to finish the year out. We've got to allocate money to bring us to the end of the year. I think our director is doing an excellent job. The exhibits, the comments, the accolades, I think MOCA is on the right track. I think we're doing well. I think we have no choice but to find the funding to see us through another year and then see what's going on next year. That being said, I know we discussed some money from the CRA to spruce it up as part of the funds. There's another $1 million chunk. I would like to know if we are going to find that money this evening or we're going to discuss it. Because if we're going to reallocate any other money that our council has voted on, then we're going to have to take another vote to allocate it to a different place. So that's one question to staff. Number two, we are also giving a $650,000 check to the MOCA board. That's not our museum, it's to our board. My concern as far as business is you don't just hand somebody $650,000 and say, have a go at it. I've requested that, and I don't know that it needs to be a part of this resolution, but I've requested a list of items that are going to be spent with the $650,000. I'm told that we have to have certain staff in place to keep our accreditation. So I'm requesting that before we just hand over a check, that we do get the proper note from the board, and also we have a proper loan agreement that sets out what exactly this money is going to be used for, not just whatever anybody wants. And we also spoke that this money would continue to be audited by the MOCA Museum. I don't know if it needs to be a resolution, but it's something that I'd like to give direction to staff if the board, so our council agrees.
Mr. Mayor, may I go? Okay. First and foremost, I think all of us here have this the right of 10 that we all do support MOCA, but I do have some concerns, and one particular concern that I had, which I met with several board members of MOCA, the understanding, and this is for you, Mr. Budget Director, the first request was for $650, but now this is triple. Were they aware of the additional 1.2 million that was added, and what is the 650 for? I understand, I think through presentation it was for staff, and the additional 1.2 million, how long is this going to take us to this fiscal year, and what happened beyond this fiscal year?
Through the city manager.
Yeah, go ahead.
The original request came from the MOCA staff for the MOCA board, MOCA Inc., in the amount of $650,000. That was, set aside as two separate entities. We were coming with our own requests regardless before they came to us in the amount of $1.2 million to carry the museum. Now, this is to carry the museum on and provide continued exhibitions throughout the year, staffing, and you know, to continue to operate in how you're accustomed to Mocha operating. That's for the $1.2 million. Again, the $650,000 is to set the foundation and the framework for them to become self-sufficient. They weren't, if anyone did speak to you from the Mocha Inc. side, they weren't aware of the city's side of what we were talking about, the 1.2. Theirs strictly came to me about $650,000. We met with them, and that's all we discussed with them. The manager and I discussed the $1.2 million to keep Mocha moving and to keep the museum running how we're accustomed to it running.
And this is for this fiscal year.
This is for this fiscal year. This will carry us to September 30th. Again, everybody will be in place. They'll begin to start receiving donations. The board is in place. We anticipate next year probably around the amount of about $2.1 million that the city will additionally have to fund outside of our normal $1 million. Well, actually, it'll be $1.1 million additional because we're saying that they're going to operate at $2.7 million. So it is reasonable to say that they might bring in more than the $500,000, but that's just worst case scenario that we feel.
My last question, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I don't have any problem as long as you saying that we do have the funding. I would feel more comfortable if we just right off the bat take the line item from the saving that we have, the city save the $5 million that we have to get in our city from. Can we do it like that? I mean, can we say our reserve from the 2 point whatever that's left, that we could look at that for the 1.8? Because I'm concerned us going into our reserve, you know, can we do that, Mr. Manager?
In order to touch that $5 million reserve, I think you need a supermajority, and that is voted on by resolution. The city attorney could correct me, but it has to be a supermajority. 4 out of the 5 members sitting there has to vote to actually move this money, and that's the time it can be moved.
Okay, and my last question is, I do support Mocha. I think it does bring a benefit to the city. I mean, I've gone and visit Mocha, the exhibits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think, I do want this to be on record. There has to be a meeting between the council and the board members where we have some type of strategic planning moving forward, because
Correct.
the prior board used to have 3 millions, and now, do we know what's the membership from, what's the difference in membership from prior to now, where we are in
Well,
memberships?
They just had the first board meeting, and all of that is being sorted out. As said in the budget presentation, the board actually raised over $3.2 million. Mocha's budget is over $4 million annually. The city actually gave in 25 or contributed 1.2 million in their fiscal budget from general fund to keep Mocha operational. We had a $5 million grant from the Knight Foundation. We had money from the Arison Foundation, plus several other small grants and endowments that kept Mocha going. With the board moving on and
Taking
we
all the money.
re-establishing a new board, there were several fiscal implications or impacts to Mocha's budget. And as presented by our budget director, it has to ramp up. If you look at the funding, I don't expect the new board to come up with $3 million immediately. The board is based on membership, donations, and what they could bring in. So I believe if you do a phase basis, where the board this year will start, at a small amount. Next year we give them a projection, which he put in the presentation at about 1 million, and then the following year at about 2 million. So in that way we have a phase plan. By next year we expect Mocha to be funded from the board 1.5, from the city 1.5.
Okay, is it 1.5? Because his said $500,000.
Sorry, 1 million, 1 million together with what we are giving here
Okay.
today. Yes. But it's a gradual basis. When I say gradual, we don't expect them to come up with 3 million immediately.
I understand. Thank you.
Can I say something, Mr. Mayor? And you're asking for 1.8 tonight
That's
right.
correct.
to be able to keep Mocha moving forward until
until Art Basel, until
No,
December
not
of this
Art
year.
Basel, this is until September 30th.
September, but it covers the programming until Art Basel.
It's gonna cover Art Basel for December.
Yes, actually, the programmation we have presented included Art
It
Basel. in
includes
it.
Art Basel, which is the major
Right.
funding
You-
source for Art Basel.
Right.
Okay.
We're planning Art Basel now so that even though the year ends in September, the programming of Art Basel is already
That's when the
included in
1.8
this.
is gonna be a
Yes.
part of Art Basel spending.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
And another question, you identify about 7 point something million dollars, right? But you didn't come up with any recommendation how we should, the breakdown of the 1.8.
I'll let the budget director read into the record my recommendation as the city
Okay.
manager.
You didn't come up with it.
The current recommendation from the city manager, staff benefits, $500,000. Contingency, the complete $600,000. Powell building.
The 600,000, talking about the money put aside for hurricane,
Well, it's contingency money, yes, for hurricanes and
in
unexpected
case of
expenses that
an
we would have.
emergency like hurricane.
Yes, and for the Powell building, $700,000.
That's when you do taking money from PAL.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
700,000
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
from PAL.
Yes, sir. And the manager, we did leave out the $5 million reserve. If we should so happen to have a hurricane or any
Right.
large unanticipated expense, then I'm sure the council would rather come and vote on that item at that time, but not to go into our $5 million reserve
Correct.
right now for something like this when we do have funds that are available.
Now, for next fiscal year, starting October 1st,
Yes.
you're gonna need 2.7 in order to keep MOCA moving forward, right? For the next fiscal year.
Approximately about 2.2.
2.2.
2.2 total or 2.2
total.
additional?
2.2
What
total.
will be the final budget for MOCA?
The final budget is going to be $2.7 million.
Or you anticipate the 500,000
Coming
from
from
the
the board,
members?
yes.
And
That's
the
when-
2.2, sir, I'm sorry, through the manager, the 2.2 consists of the $1 million that you already allocate every year. So that's an
Okay.
accounted for expense already, that $1 million.
You just need another million.
We need another $1 million to come up with, exactly.
Okay, did you already identify where you're gonna get it from?
Not
How you
yet.
gonna get it?
We haven't,
No. Well, we haven't. We have looked at, as you got recently, our ad valorem went up, our property taxes went up 8%. So we are looking at those numbers. We have several other areas. We had a $550,000 transfer fee that was paid by Michael Swedlow when his property rights was sold over to LaFrac. So we have several other sources of funding or revenues coming in. I just want to mention, I heard from
But the
this-
way you say it look like you're gonna take 100% of the money coming in to cover only MOCA
no,
when
well,
we have other project in the
well,
city.
there's other projects coming
And you
in
don't
too.
you don't know if we're not gonna vote to lower people taxes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be several areas of revenues coming in, together with the $4 million from the sale of the Biscayne Landing property. So again, there's lots of revenues coming in, and I think budgetary wise, I will be giving you a balanced budget. Just one point to note: I heard from our consultant today, the allocation at the state level for $500,000 from Ron Book's office. The governor vetoed it, so I don't think the funding for MOCA will be moving forward. But funding at the county level, and we will still be applying again at the state level for next year.
But the director said until 17, we won't be able to apply for any grant until.
Yes,
budget
but already we have been removed from that punishment, both from the county and the state level.
Okay.
Any other question? Councilor?
No.
No question?
Mayor, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. It was a motion made by Councilman Galvin and it was seconded by Mayor Smith.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
May I just have 30 seconds? We absolutely have to do this. The eyes of the South Florida community are upon us. there are a lot of people who took their money and ran. And Bill Previtel, let me correct you. We didn't fall asleep at the wheel. We weren't texting at the wheel. Our car was hijacked by rich people who wanted to take their toys and go somewhere else. So we're going to show them. We're going to show them that they failed. This community is not going to fail MoCA, and I know that our new MoCA board and the new MoCA are not going to fail this community. Let's, as Mrs. Prager said tonight, let's be bold and let's do this.
Okay. Well, everybody knows, that I'm a sucker for MoCA. So, and I've always picture and talk about MoCA as if it's just that we go into restructuring pain now, and it's like a family who's trying to work hard to make ends meet, but they understand that they have the only way out is to send their kids to school and to tell them to stay in school, and they do whatever it takes to keep them in school, and knowing that in a few years these kids will be independent financially, socially, and culturally. So, and having said that, I know I'm only one vote, but anything that I can do to convince my co-council members, to embrace this vision, because there is no downtown, there is no city redevelopment without restructuring and maintaining the image of MoCA. And we have to be serious about that, and MoCA needs the attention that it's getting from us now. And having said that, I have MoCA in my mind, and I have PAL, I have the businesses, and I have the citizens of this city who actually elected us, to look after them. And I will guarantee you once more that PAL will not suffer because of our decision tonight. And PAL has to do with children, and so does MoCA. The children may be poor, but I believe that MoCA has already given opportunity to hundreds and thousands of children, of kids, to really be exposed to arts that they would otherwise not be exposed to. And whatever it is that we have to do, let's go through the pain now so that our children can enjoy it later. Having said that, I think it's time to go for a vote.
Okay, motion was made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Mayor Smith to approve tab I. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 5-0. Tab J, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing additional funding for the completion of the North Miami Public Library interior renovation and remodeling project in the amount not to exceed $700,000, and further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to amend the agreement executed on August 7, 2014 between the city of North Miami and S.A. Consultants, LLC, as a contractor for the library renovation and remodeling project in accordance with resolution number 2014-R-62, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Staff presentation.
Sure. I'd like to introduce Jeff Geimer, Capital Improvements.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Jeff Geimer, Capital Project Manager for the city. I just have a brief summary of what we're asking for this evening. In your council report, you'll see that there is a request for approximately $700,000. What I'd like to tell you is that a large portion of that has already been allocated. There was $1 million allocated from the Biscayne Landing funding source when the project was originally approved, and at the same time, or just soon afterwards, the library received a grant for another $500,000. So there has actually been $1.5 million allocated for this project. The item that failed was that it never came back to you when the grant was received to increase the funding amount from $1 million to $1.5 million. So what we're asking for tonight is to recognize the $1.5 million plus an additional $200,000. The additional $200,000 is going to be $100,000 immediately to finish the interior work at the library, and $100,000 is going to come to you through the budget for FY16 for exterior improvements to the library. The interior improvements that need to be completed are the storefront. We're going to redo the storefront as part of this project. The entranceway, basically the entrance glass that's there up top, and then the entry doors below. That's a large portion of this project, and to redo the back office as well. The back office area has been gutted out, and we need funding to complete that portion of the project. The reason for the overruns in the project are all basically related to renovations of an old building. There's been electrical wiring upgrades, fire alarm upgrades, lighting upgrades, additional asbestos removals that were all unforeseen, and those are the things that add to the cost. What this will do, this additional money that we're asking for tonight, this will be all that we're going to be coming to you for per this agreement. The funding source this year has been, we did some moving around of funds. We were able to reallocate one project to the half-cent surtax, and then we took the money from that project and we're able to allocate that from the general fund. So we're not taking money away from anything. We're able to just reshuffle some projects this year, and then next year we are going to come to you through the budget process, which is the way you all like to see it, to see the allocation for the additional $100,000. I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
I just
Any-
Make a motion
Any
to
addition?
approve the resolution.
I just have
We-
a quick question.
We have to,
Mr. Mayor.
what about the public? You wanna, oh, you
Oh,
wanna?
no, just a
okay,
quick
go
question,
ahead.
Sure.
Jeff. That's mean you're not gonna do any renovation for the parking lot?
That will have to come out of the FY16 as you.
The 100,000 coming
Yeah,
in?
The additional, that's
Or is
the,
it gonna be-
The
that's
one
part of
hundred
the.
thousand allocated or requested for next fiscal year,
Mhm.
the money that's allocated this year, the 100,000 extra, is because of the 40-year recertification and all the other stuff that we are doing to complete the job, and unforeseen circumstances that was met. The 100,000 for the parking lot, the lighting and the exterior of the building would be for the next fiscal year, and it would be done, yes.
One more question, Mayor.
Any other question, Paul?
I still have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have to listen to the, we have to listen to the people. Public hearing is open.
Inez Couch, 1050 Northeast 131st Street. I speak to you tonight as president of the Friends of the Library and also chairperson of the City Advisory Board for the library. We're going to thank you in advance for approving this money. You know how serious that it is that we have it. And remember, our library services the whole city, the children, the adults, the whole city. It's vitally important that we get the renovations done and done right so that we better represent what we are to the city. Thank you.
I'm Jim Tracton from Keystone Point. For years, I went to the library every week and took a book out. And then the library started getting allocations. And there were no new books for me. So I haven't been to the library for a long time, and I'd love to see it back in this good shape. Thank you.
Yes, Sylvia Mayolo, 100 Northeast, 124th Street. I believe that the library is as much important as a museum. It's as much important as food. I have a 7-year-old grandson who reads a book every day. And the library is great. I agree with this project a lot.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. On behalf of the patrons of North Miami Public Library, I would like to emphasize, I would also like to bring to your attention that you have received minimal applause here and there for MOCA. But when this young lady got up and spoke about our kids in a community, you receive a very loud applause. That's because kids are our priority. and we need to fix any structure where it brings in our children. I go from school to school throughout the county, Dade County, and it's sad that I have to report that a lot of kids did not get work done because they did not have access to the library as they usually do. Kids don't have the privilege of traveling to North Miami Beach or the further library on 163rd Street or 160-something Street. I would like to ask council to please put the library as their priority. Ms. Lucian Gonzalez, Ms. Bonnie, they were doing a marvelous job before the library was closed down. It's a year now it's being closed down. I would like to see these two young ladies continue to provide and give to our young kids what we need to get the work done for the school year.
As a teacher of North Miami, work and live in North Miami, education is first and foremost, and we would like to have this library open. We suggested to our students for the summer, over the summer, to visit the library, but it's not ready. It's been a whole entire year, and we need the library open right now, as soon as possible.
Mr. Mayor, may we ask that
Thank you.
the last speaker to identify herself, name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Barbara James Burrell, 820 Northwest 129th Street, and work at Grantly Elementary School as a teacher.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace, and I have on
Judy.
another. Yes.
Did you know that this AC thing was going to happen?
Oh, please. I blame you for that.
You brought your Chinese friend with.
You're the mayor. You're supposed to fix it. We're on the move. Move this air conditioner. Right, guys, it's hot in here. But I'm coming to you with another hat because I'm on the board, and we are still waiting for your appointee, Mr. Mayor. I hate to call you out, but we're still waiting. So having said that, I've come to this body before and asking about the library, and it is beautiful. I've been there, and if you have not gone to get a little tour, I would suggest that you really do, because the children room makes me want to just take out all of my books and start teaching again.
All right.
But it is something that's very, very needed, and I'm quite sure you all going to do the right thing and get our library open. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed. Vice Mayor?
Just move to approve.
Yeah, we already have a motion, Mayor. We do have a motion in a second. The motion was made by Vice Mayor Keys, and it was seconded by Councilman Galvin.
Yes, it was me.
Okay.
Now we have discussion.
Yes, we do.
I've had my tour of the library. They're doing a great job. You can see it's an old building. They had some unexpected delays, and I'd like to see it get moved.
Mr. Mayor, if we approve this tonight, when will the library finally open?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, to
Sure.
staff.
Yeah.
If we approve this tonight, when will it finally?
Upon approval, I think within 8 weeks, I have just heard from Jeff. Within 8 weeks, the library will be open.
Okay. Yay.
Any other?
Yeah.
I did, but I'll wait later for my question.
Sure.
Later.
Yeah, no, it has something to do with the not with the library, but with budget. But that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Philip? No? Nothing? Okay, we'll go for a vote.
Just for the record, again, motion was made by Vice Mayor Keys, seconded by Councilman Galvin, and that is to approve tab J. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 5-0. Tab K. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the termination of a service agreement between the city of North Miami and American Traffic Solutions, Inc., providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Anything from staff? Did you?
Public records? Oh, no.
Mr. Manager?
No, as requested by resolution, what we are requesting is effective September 30th, to do away with the red light camera program. Due to, I believe, all the what has happened within Fort Lauderdale and the other cities in Broward County. I understand that the judge did not make a ruling in Dade County. But moving forward, I believe there's going to be liability on the city if we continue the program. And to incur or not to incur additional liability, I should say, at this point, I recommend that with the funding allocated through the budget, effective till September, to give me approval to actually do away with the program effective September 30th.
All right. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is open.
William Previtel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. It is a concern if there may be a liability issue. It seems like it would fall upon us only if we were given some sort of concrete notice. On the other side, we have a situation where the cameras have been proven to reduce the number of accidents in our area, have taken some of the burden off the police from visiting these sites and attending to these accidents, have helped to reduce that concern for them. Our police department is very much in support of this. It is safer for the community. There are less people getting injured. And on top of that, there is a revenue stream at this time. So I'd like you to consider maintaining this program until we're officially notified or to seek additional counsel from maybe a State Attorney General. Thank you.
Good evening. Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. From the beginning, I opposed the red light cameras. I'm principal. However, they were instituted, which created a revenue stream, which I believe we have somehow become dependent on. Unfortunately, over the course of having these red light cameras, they were somehow abused. They seem to have grown like triffids all over the city. Instead of having them in the major intersections, which was what the idea was to begin with, they branched out all over, probably to plug holes in missing money. However, I do agree that they do have some benefit in terms of life safety. On the other hand, and it also shores up a lack of police presence in terms of the traffic patrol in the city, which we don't have the money, obviously, in our budget to make possible again. So until I think someone tells us that this is illegal or unconstitutional, however it is they're going to rule on it, maybe we should look to just putting them back in the intersections that were originally discussed when the program was first introduced. And then if there is any kind of room to keep the program, then we leave those cameras in place until such time as we can find the funding to replace them, not only for our general fund, but also for the police department. Thank you.
Rosalind Philippe, 12205 Northeast Miami Court. Did I do that?
No. Your time's up.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that the city manager is considering removing the red light cameras. I think it's time. Contrary to what my friends do think, I've seen how people drive when they come to the intersection where there are cameras. Either they speed up to try to beat the camera, or they slow down tremendously. Both actions are dangerous. So I think if we remove them, then people can drive and the way that they're supposed to, and get regular tickets. And hopefully, you know, we'll get individuals to do the right thing. But my thing is having the camera, getting the tickets. A lot of individuals, I've heard it as I went campaigning, when they try to go, you know, when you go to court, the judge hears you. Well, in our case, I think, you know, it's unfair to them because if they lose the case, then they wind up paying more. And you know, I believe that our police department, yes, it's a good funding for them, but there are other sources of revenue, and I don't think we need to do it on the backs of the citizens. So that's my view.
Yeah, hi, Dion Shirible, 13390 Northeast 4th Court. I don't like the cameras. When I drive down from, let's say, 135th to 125th, let's say going via 6th Avenue, and then I go from 6th Avenue and I drive all the way down to where Miami Shores are, is everybody goes 30 miles an hour. Nobody goes over 30 miles an hour. You know why? Not because of red light cameras, because of police officers. You cannot drive down that street without getting a ticket. If you go 35 miles an hour, you're going to get a ticket. That's major revenue for their city. The revenue, I don't know how much revenue we get from the red light cameras, but like the lady said, we're taking it out of our own pockets, out of the city of North Miami's pockets. So I would rather more police officers. Thank you.
William Welch, San Souci. I'm personally very much in favor of the cameras because I've seen a great deal of people stopping, not running the cameras. When you're trying to go across an intersection and you have everybody trying to beat the last thing or make that extra couple of seconds, it gets very dangerous, especially if you've had the green light for a couple of seconds and don't anticipate it. There's less accidents. And in reality, I think if you check, there's only about 25% of the citizens of North Miami are running the red light cameras. And if they simply stop and don't run the red light cameras, they don't get the ticket. Secondly, if they get a ticket from a police officer, they also get points. So they should be grateful on the cameras and not getting a ticket with points. Thank you.
George Dotzler, 12785 Hickory Road. I'm a civil engineer, and I did study traffic design. I don't object to the cameras. I object to the way they are being administered. Now, there's a 2-second reaction time, and there should be 1 second for every 10 miles an hour, and those yellow lights are not 5 seconds. They have been manipulated in such a way as to be impossible to stop in a reasonable amount of time. So they're catching people doing just what they should do, driving carefully. Okay, I've observed that, and that to me is wrong. And then when you come here to this court, this is our own personal little kangaroo court. It isn't administered by Dade County. There's no appeal process. You know, I think that the city has a huge liability here. If somebody takes a really good look at this, to me, it's almost a criminal enterprise.
Sylvia Mayola, 124th Street. I prefer to pay a ticket to a police officer because the money comes to the North Miami police or North Miami City of North Miami. And when you pay the camera ticket, it goes to a private company, and the city have very, very little money from that. I don't agree to have the cameras at all. I agree to have more police officers.
Hi, my name's Natalie Bowen. I live at 12660 Northeast 4th Avenue. This is the first time I've spoken at one of these meetings. You may think I'm biased. I received one of these tickets in the post the other day. It's $158. and I will very confidently say I'm an extremely vigilant driver. And I remember the incident, and it was a yellow light, and I had already crossed the line, and I was behind a school bus, and I'm going to be contesting the ticket. I agree with what a lot of people have said. I think it is 50-50, but going back to the police situation, one of the things that I know Miami Shores does, because I drive through the 25-mile-per-hour zone a lot, is they have empty police cars sitting on the side of the road. They're not manned police cars. And so I have a question about our neighborhood, considering if we have spare police cars sitting at the police station, is it possible to begin looking at situating some of these in areas that we know have a lot of traffic problems, my street being one of those as well, to help deter people from speeding, because I know it slows people down. And I see people driving at 40 miles an hour up to these 25-mile-per-hour limits where these police cars are sat, and they slow straight down. So that's a question for Mayor and the council members. Is that something that we can do with police cars? Thank you.
Esther Blinn, 1990, Northeast 118th Road. I know this is a red-hot topic, as it were, and I'm sure there are pros and cons, but I know that we've limited what you would get a red light ticket for. You know, it used to be for everything. Now it excludes turns on red. It excludes a number of right on red items. I can't, I would defer actually to law enforcement, but I understand the concerns on the other side as far as delegating to non-law enforcement. So there must be a way to resolve that dilemma, and I leave that to the Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. I'm from Australia, and we have cameras for everything, and it's terrible because you go 1 mile over the speed limit and you get a ticket in your house in Miami for $176, and it's awful. At the same time, I think if you look in the big picture, I think people are just so angry and have lost their spiritual connection with the earth. And I say that because it sounds out there, but people drive horrible in South Florida. I see accidents constantly. So I feel like, as Carol said, if we can find some kind of happy medium, like maybe put the cameras in the right places, tweak it, as the gentleman said about the 5 seconds of getting it right. I'm scared to drive in South Florida. I drive constantly and I see so many accidents. I just think if we take away the cameras, I mean, can you imagine 125th and Dixie without a camera? I just can't imagine what people would do. I just think there's got to be some kind of happy medium where we keep safe. I live on Griffin Boulevard. We've got people driving Friday, Saturday night, 70 miles an hour. I'm not exaggerating. We've got to find some kind of happy medium to keep our streets safe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. Obviously, I think everyone's a little suspicious of red light cameras. A lot of jurisdictions are getting rid of them. But one thing that I think about is if we get rid of them, we're going to lose another, I think it is $1.1 million out of our budget. So we just saw that we're going to give MoCA another $2 million. We're going to get rid of the cameras, so we'll be in another deficit of $1.1 million. How are we going to recoup that money? We all want to do the right thing. We want to get all of these things in our city. We want to live in the renderings of the comprehensive plan, the master plan, but we have to pay for it. And sometimes that's by making difficult decisions. Maybe we want to get rid of the red light cameras, but maybe not this year since we're already in the red on other issues. So it's something to think about. I know in my house, we want a lot of nice things, but we put a list together, and we say in our house, you know, we can't live on off of champagne on a beer budget, and that's kind of what I'm seeing our city want to do. So we need to think about how we're going to pay for everything and what the consequence of our decision is going to be. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. Jacques Despinos, 95 Northeast 131 Street, residence taxpayer of North Miami. Red light camera. If I can vote 10 times against it, I'm ready to cast my 10 vote with my 10 fingers. I'm against it, and this. The purpose here, we need the money. What about all those years in the city incorporated? They didn't have no camera that survive. Suddenly, if we don't have the camera, we're going dead. That's the con artist show. Now, and the council, beside Councilman Scott Galvin, who did not have a position, maybe he didn't have a chance to make commitment. I think every one of your four guys here made commitment. If I'm elected, I'm going to remove the camera. It's coming from Councilman Keys. It's going to come from the mayor. It's coming from Alex. It's coming from BNMA. Please keep your promise. During the campaign, you make a promise, keep it up. Now, the state said only law enforcement, law-abiding can write you a ticket. The fight is going there. Many of us don't know what to do. I got a ticket in my pocket now. It weighs up to $400. I was waiting to go in the court on June 1st. I take first for 11. By the time when he comes to the thing, I'm ready to. I said, what? It's passed. I went to the court at Biscayne, and I'm waiting to go and try to fight it. Because it doesn't make sense. The argument when you read paper from other state, other municipalities, other county, you know, it's not the same. All right. Like we need the money, fine. My understanding that's the city with all the money is going in from Biscayne Landing to Sole Miami.
I did it for everybody, so I have to do it for you too. I'm very
Thank
sorry.
you.
We have to get the next
Thank you.
one.
Anyway, no camera. Guy, keep your promise.
All right. Next.
Rosa Castillo, 585 Northwest 126th Street, District 4. I'm not for or against the cameras, but I'm going to second what the gentleman said. You guys do need to take a look at the traffic signals. The yellow lights and the red lights are not coming on when they are supposed to. The yellow lights take about 2 seconds to come on, and then you get a red light. They should last a lot longer. You really need to take a look at that because that could avoid tickets, traffic, and accidents.
Kenneth H., 776 Northeast 125th Street. I kind of find this in a way humorous because the hue and the cry today around the country is that we want cameras on police officers. So now we have cameras on these traffic lights. We don't control the traffic lights. Metro Day does. That's up to them. And we say we don't have the economy to afford more police officers. The way I look at it is this is an economy of force. These are other eyes out there. The camera doesn't lie. We have, and I've driven all over the world, we have without a doubt, and I grew up in New York City, we have without a doubt the worst drivers in the world. I walk in the morning and I take my life in my hands when I cross 123rd and Biscayne Boulevard. And I'm telling you, I'm glad those cameras are there. First of all, we live in this era today of global terrorism, asymmetrical warfare. Those are additional eyes and ears for us out there, people. And listen, you know what, I was your chief of police. I was a cop for 33 years, and I already paid 3 tickets myself. 3 tickets. I violated the law. I made a right turn on red without stopping. Folks, if you're breaking the traffic laws and you get caught, whether it's a camera or a cop, what's the difference? You got caught. So own up to it. You're paying your ticket. Yeah, and I took anger management this week, too. Folks, I don't, you know, we're looking at a lot of money here. We're looking at $1 million something. I'm glad the cameras are there, honestly. we do have terrible, terrible drivers. They don't stop when they turn on the right hand, on Biscayne especially. And you know what? I think it's only 25% of the residents, of all the total tickets, only 25% come out of the city of North Miami. I'm part of that 25%.
All right,
And I
Mr.
gladly
East,
paid that
Thank you
ticket.
very much. We will proceed. Now, public hearing is closed. We'll go to the dais for further comments and suggestions.
May I speak?
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor? Thank you. I think it's a sad day for our city when we remove the cameras from our streets. I think we are making it a much more dangerous place for our residents. I fully believe, actually, I want to say one of the very, very few things that Chief Each and I agree on. Okay, we got two. Our city is a drive-through city. We have people going from the beach to the expressway. Most of the tickets, I believe we've had a lot of statistics, about 75% of the tickets issued in our city are people who do not live here. We have 3 miles of Biscayne Boulevard. 2 Friday nights ago, there was a near fatality at the back entrance of Keystone Point on Biscayne Boulevard with one of those motorcycles. And about 2 months earlier, there was another fatality right under my window at the other entrance at Keystone Point. If these cameras are not there, these people aren't even going to bother with our lights. We are making it so dangerous for our residents, and we are saying, hey, you want to run the red lights, don't worry, no repercussions. When I sat here and said this a couple months ago, I said, you don't want to pay tickets, don't run a red light. And I got booed. I'm appalled. We've taken away the no right on red because that's sort of subjective. Yes, I've gotten my ticket for running a red light in Aventura. I paid it. Yeah, me bad. I'm bad, whatever. I think we're going to make our city much more unsafe for our residents. It is not about the money. Money's nice. I absolutely believe we should not base our budget on any of this red light camera money. And if our lights are in fact rigged, let's unrig them. If it means we have to make our yellow lights a little longer, great. But I know everybody's traffic habits, driving habits have changed. Mine do. I see a yellow light, I stop. I know other people, they count the little numbers on the walk things. But to take the red light cameras off Biscayne Boulevard and 125th and 135th, where people are whizzing through our city with no, if we take them out, they will not care. And
Okay.
again, it's not about money, and I really hope that we don't make our streets unsafe. Thank you.
Next.
You could go right after you.
All right, I'll be quick. I was originally in favor of the red light cameras when they were only at about 6 locations throughout the city. This was several years ago. The city council voted on those 6 locations and it was publicly vetted. Then in the ensuing years, city administrators installed another 25 or so of these red light cameras. They didn't tell us, they didn't ask us, they didn't even let us know that this extra income was on its way back to the city. We found out after the fact. That showed me right there. It had become about money and it was no longer about safety. We say, okay, so where's the money gonna come from? We might have champagne appetite on a beer budget, but the good thing is that our friends at Sole Mia are about to belly up to the bar and cover our tab. They already owe us $4 million for this fiscal year that ends in October. Then they'll owe us another $2 million. I'm not worried about where we're going to get the money to pay for some of these things, and it's just going to mean we'll have to look at different budget expenditures, in the next year. But this has stopped being about safety, and it started being about money, and anybody who's wondering now tonight where we're going to come up with the money if we get rid of this, you just absolutely made my point. So I'm ready to vote to, I'm willing to scale it back to the original 6, but either way, whomever the maker of the motion is, you'll probably have my support.
Mr. Mayor, may I please go?
Go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, not a big supporter of the red light cameras for several reasons, but one in particular, I at the beginning, I thought it was a mistake how we balanced our budget on the back of especially folks in my district who cannot even afford to pay a light bill or the water bill, because I do get the request that comes through my office. So I'm against it in any way you slice it. But when they talk about the 25% versus the 75% who does not live in the city, to me it seems like everybody that I talk to is part of the 25%, because everyone that I've talked to have received Carol, just the whole thing. So I'm totally against it. The only thing is I wanted to be a co-sponsor of this item, because it's not really, at one point I wanted to even considering talking, but it's not about safety, Carol, and I do understand. I wish it was, but it's all about the money, and we went at it the wrong way. And I think you said, the city manager, that we will balance the budget next year without it, period. So that right there solved up my concerns.
I'm glad to see tonight a lot of constituents from District 3. And Guy, thank you for coming. Where are you guys? Thank you very much. And you already know my position about the red light camera. That's mean I don't have much to say. I'm just gonna vote on it.
All right.
And you will be witness of my decision.
If you guys remember, a couple of weeks back, I came with this item as a discussion item. That was in the efforts of getting people's opinion about it. And I'm the type of person who likes to give the opportunity of for people to really make their case before final decisions are made. And I always say to the people that you elected me to look after the well-being of the city, and as well as the well-being of the citizens, not big companies who after making millions of dollars. Having said that, I think somebody said this is a very sad day for the city if we do vote to eliminate the cameras. It's always a sad day for a child when you take away a pacifier from him or her. We are taking away the pacifier tonight. It is very irresponsible for any government to try to balance a budget at the expense of the people who are working very hard to make ends meet. And we have to try to move away from that culture. We are a city, we are a very responsible government, and I think it's time for us to really act so, and I believe and I remain convinced that I sit aside and reflect on this. And this is not a political move for me. This is not a political move at all. If it did make sense, I would not even come with it to the city manager. And it makes sense, and that's why I considered it a couple of weeks back. We came and reflected on it, we talked about it. So I give the people time to really think, to let you know that this is something that is coming down the pipeline. That's why I came with it as a discussion item. And finally, as a resolution for us to really do away with it once and for all. So I think we will be a much better city. We will be able to balance our budget without this. And the pacifier is out. We're going to be suffering. We're going to go through withdrawal for a couple of days. But after that, we'll be fine. The police department knows that I'm always with them, that whatever it is that I do, it's a city that is off. And again, we are a very responsible council. Every department is, we take it at heart to really make sure that they have the resources available for them to do the work that they need to do. The police department will get our support on anything that they need to make sure that they serve and protect the citizens that they were hired to do. And that's it, and that's that. Having said that, Mr. Clerk.
I need a motion, Mayor, and a second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Desume. It was seconded by Councilman Bieneme, and this motion is to approve tab K. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All, item passes 4-1. Congratulations.
Tab L.
Tab L. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, requesting a designation from the Florida State Legislature and the Florida Department of Transportation of SR 922 Northeast 123rd Street from Biscayne Boulevard, the western terminus, to the east of the state system roadway at the North Miami city limits, to be known as Stanley G. Tay Boulevard, and authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to effectuate the designation, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That is tab L.
To the mayor, I'd like to present Jimmy Tate, the son of Stanley Tate, to just give us a short bio of his dad.
Thank you, Aleem. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity. My name is James Tate. I live at 12855 Biscayne Bay Drive. I also work at 1175 Northeast 125th Street. My family and my corporate offices are here in North Miami, and my father's corporate offices have been here since the 60s. We're definitely pillars of the society. We love North Miami, and we spend a lot of time in the city and trying to help in any way we can to be better citizens of the city. My father, you know, through his years, he's 87 years old. He's been recognized from presidents on down, but, you know, I realize I walk in his office and there's all these plaques, but the recognition that I think would really set the tone and so appropriate for him for all he's done for Florida would to have a street named after him. And since he was one of the original developers of Bay Harbor and then moved his businesses into North Miami, I thought the appropriate roadway between 125th Street and Biscayne Boulevard towards the Broad Causeway Bridge was the appropriate area for that. You know, I don't know how many of you are familiar with my father, but he not only wrote the legislation, but he funded and started the prepaid college program for the state of Florida, which has over 1.5 million students in the program. Thank you. And that's really for people to afford all students and all children, for all families, an opportunity to have a college education. And it's probably one of the greatest legacies that he's ever been associated with. On a national level, he was also, you know, appointed by the President of the United States to chair and help with the Resolution Trust Corporation to help save the banking industry. So he's not only a pillar of society, but he gives back. And I just thought that this recognition, before it gets too late where he can recognize that he's 87 years old, I thought was appropriate. And, you know, if the city would consider this resolution, I would really take it as a personal thank you and appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the public who wants to be heard, please come to the mic now. Public hearing is open.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. What a great honor it would be on behalf of North Miami to designate this roadway for Mr. Tate. A pillar in the community, not just what he did for North Miami residents, but what he's done for kids in the state of Florida and what he's done for other groups throughout the country. But I would like to make a suggestion to Mr. Galvin, since he's the sponsor of this, and to his son Jimmy, is that since his father had those corporate offices on 125th Street since the 60s, and that building has stood out for so long, that we move the western border to Northeast 10th Avenue, which would take in not only the Tate Enterprise building, where was the foundation of their corporation, but also it takes in a public school, a school that he cared for, and the students of the prepaid scholarship programs that benefit from it, so that within his street, that is Boulevard, that is named for him, you include an educational facility and you include the building where he did so many good things. And Mr. Galvin, I know you're the sponsor of this. If you would, it's something I would propose that we could expand the boundaries of this particular road. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Kenneth Each, 776 Northeast 125th Street. I concur. Mr. Tate, when I was chief of police, was always a big supporter of the police department, and helped us in many ways advance our community-based policing effort. And it was always in the forefront. As I came to the city in 1970, and I remember when that building first went up, and you had the water underneath and everything. And Mr. Tate Sr. was just a wonderful man and a big supporter of the city and a big supporter of my tenure as chief of police. And I would urge you to really pass this. This would be a great honor. Thank you.
Mike McDermott, 840 Northeast 127th Street. I can't concur enough with all that's been said. Stanley Tate and the Tate family have done so much for this community, and so many things behind the scenes. I think, Scott, it's a wonderful honor for a family and for Stanley, who have done so much over the years for North Miami. Thank you very much. And certainly, I think this is a wonderful idea, and I agree with the Kevin's suggestion about expanding it westward. That is a great idea. Thank you.
All right, public hearing is now closed. Members of the dais.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to accept the public's friendly amendment and amend tonight's resolution to expand from Northeast 10th Avenue on the west side east to the terminus, and make the motion to approve if the council accepts that friendly approval.
I'll second that.
Any other comment? No?
Just for a vote.
Motion was made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Councilwoman Keys. Now, there was an amendment to the motion. The motion is to expand from the Northeast 10th Avenue to
The previous one plus.
Plus, including.
the terminus, correct?
Correct. East to the
East to the,
city
you said
terminus.
west, so it's east to the terminus.
From northeast 10th Avenue on the western boundary, east to the city's terminus along 125th/123rd Street.
There you go. That's the amendment as stated on the record. Motion's made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Now, first we have to vote to accept the amendment.
No,
and
we
then
can-
we vote on it.
The motion was made, Mayor.
Mhm.
The motion was made with that amendment. So at this moment, we're voting to approve the motion with the amendment. Now, if the motion was made before the amendment, then we would have to
Then we would have
accept
to
it.
do that.
So because you guys cleverly did the amendment first and then made the motion and then seconded, we're voting as is.
Okay.
Is that okay? Understood, everyone? Okay, so item was passed with the amendment. Tab L, it was passed 5-0. Tab M, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, establishing timelines for public records requests, eliminating certain fees and costs, and assigning personnel to effectuate compliance, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That's tab L.
Mr. Mayor, unless staff wants to go
Tab M.
first. or-
Tab M or L?
Go ahead.
M?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I might. The reason that I asked that this item be put on the agenda tonight was because I hear too often from members of the public and members of the media that the city is incredibly slow in turning around public records requests. Held up to other cities, we look like we're still in the Stone Ages, whereas some cities are turning things around the same day and certainly the same week. Months will drag by with us still not having complied with records requests. The state law says we must comply with those records requests within a reasonable amount of time, and I'm sort of proposing tonight that we establish a reasonable amount of time. If it's a small records request, I think that if we have people in each department who are responsible for handling it, we can turn it right around. If it's something that's more lengthy, then I'm open to suggestion from the city clerk as to how we might handle that. But I'd like us to just get with the modern ages, photocopy a couple of sheets of paper, scan it and email it to the person, get rid of all the regulations we've put in place that have to have multiple departments check off on it, and it goes to the city attorney's office to be approved. That's just holding up public records. I can understand why in the past maybe our city administrations were afraid of the public getting information, but I think this should be an administration that moves in the sunshine. So I hope that the council will approve this tonight.
And Mayor, might I add, Councilman Galvin and I did work on this resolution, and just for the record, the clerk's office is not responsible for public records requests. the office of the manager does. And as you know, our manager is relatively new. He got on about a year ago. And the city manager and I have got together and we amended the admin regs. And we think that this resolution will be a remarkable addition to the admin regs.
Correct.
Because unfortunately, there were process put in place that hinders the public from getting requests. And that's, for example, if an individual come to an office and they want a public records request and the documents are there, initially you have to take it to 2-3 different departments before you can hand it over to the public. You would have to take it to the city attorney's office, you would have to take it to the city manager's office, and we think that we can cut back a couple of steps so that we can expedite public records requests. With a few amendments that we recommended, I think Councilman Galvin wanted a 100-page free. We think that that's too voluminous. We think 15 pages ought to be free.
Correct.
And with that exception, I think with the administrative regs, in addition to this resolution, I think it will strengthen our public records request response.
And I'd be willing to, I must admit, I just plucked the 100-page number out of the air.
Right.
So I'm willing to live with 15 pages free for now, and then if we're still getting the complaints in another couple of months, then we'll, perhaps revisit it. But, it only makes the city look good when people can get their information quickly.
And I think the media ought to be free in general, to be honest with you. But I think some public records requests are genuine, and they're not for any type of political, there's no political agendas attached.
Correct.
When you get a public request from a media outlet, they are of good faith, goodwill, and they're not, it's more so they're trying to get information. And it's very rare that the media will get public records requests for more than 20, 30 pages. So however you want to do it, Councilman Galvin, but that's the only amendment that I recommended. 15 pages free for the first 15 pages free. And I think if it's a media outlet, I think it ought to be free across the board.
Across the board?
Free across the board?
No, well, can I, is it discussion?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what?
I just have, open it for public
Right.
discussion.
I just have one other comment before you take it to the dais. There are two things here: reasonable time, which I think we have addressed with the admin reg, and I think it's dependent on the type of request, because we have requests coming into the personnel department for 50 applicants files. I mean, you see it's reams and reams of paper, and I think we should be reimbursed for that. It also takes a lot of staff time to actually produce these public records. So we have those records that are made on a, I would say on a weekly basis from certain individuals. Those, I think we must charge a certain fee because it takes staff time and it also takes a lot of our resources to allocating that. I don't have a problem in recommending that the media get it, whether it's electronically or any amount of pages, whether it's 15 or whether it's, but it all depends on the type of public record request, and I think we should address that.
Are we going to public comments and, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we have to listen to the people.
First, yes.
Are my 2 minutes running?
Go ahead.
Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. Public records are public records regardless of who is requesting the public records. And I find it offensive that we would consider giving it free to the media and charging the residents who pay taxes in this city who pay your salary.
Rosa Castillo, 585 Northwest 126th Street, District 4. I second that. We shouldn't have to pay for public records. That is your fault for not providing them to us before. You are probably the only municipality that doesn't do it because you're still living in the Stone Age, like Mr. Galvin said. So it shouldn't be our fault. We shouldn't have to be punished for that by paying a fee.
Kenneth East, 776 Northeast 125th Street. I have to agree with Ms. Prager. When the Wall Street Journal and the Miami Herald give me the first 15 pages free, then I would say give it to them free. The first 15 pages, great. That's okay. After that, it does cost a lot of staff, and it is paper, and it is labor intensive. And I think the city is entitled to recoup some of that. I mean, you're not going to recoup it all, obviously, but I do agree with the first 15, and I don't think the newspaper or the media should get it after that. They should pay the same as we do.
Yes, William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I would second the sentiment of Commissioner Each and Carol Prager. By limiting it to 10, 15, or 20 pages, at least it sets a bar where it will not be abused. I think that's very important because it could lead itself to being abusive if there was a situation where it did require some extraordinary amount of documentation or some other deal. Maybe it could be brought before the city manager and something could be worked out. But otherwise, I think we need to set a standard. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, with respect to the city attorney's office reviewing documents, just be mindful that there are certain exemptions. For example, social security numbers, you have to be sure that sensitive information is not disclosed. And so providing that issue is resolved through whatever system is being implemented, just, certainly we want to be careful because a violation of someone's confidentiality is something very serious. And there was no undue delay with respect to documents coming through my office, just for the record. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm open if staff has some number they want to set it at. Like I said 100. To me, I have to make photocopies at the office all the time. I don't have a secretary, so I know what it's like to have to photo my own stuff and scan my own stuff. Right. Doesn't really take that much time. That's why I said 100. If you want it to be 50, if you want it to be 15, I'm open to that. I don't want to differentiate between the media and the public. I don't think we should. If that's somewhere misconstrued, I do not think that the media should be getting free stuff while the public is paying for it. No, no, no. They should be getting it free at the same time our people are getting it free. A lot of the times we've seen negative headlines about the city in recent months. It's been because they can't get any information. And what else is a reporter going to think? But we're hiding something.
Right.
So, by getting this information out quickly, it gives us the opportunity to, tell our story and make sure everybody's up to speed.
Okay, so let's make some recommendations about the times, and let's specify the, let's be a little bit more specific about it so we can see how we're going to move forward with it.
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I agree, the media is actually going to make money off the public records they receive from us. They're going to sell papers, so I don't have a problem. I do know that paper, making copies does cost. The cost of the paper, toner, and upkeep is at least 25 cents a page, and that's not the labor that we're going to be paying.
I can't disagree more. That's the old way of things. I'm going to charge you 10 cents to make a copy on my machine. Just get with it. Run the copy, hand it over, and let's move on.
But we've agreed that we're going to pay, the first 15, 25 pages are free, and after that we're going to charge. I mean, that's what we've agreed. I'm okay with that. My only comment on this resolution is that it says we have to provide a request within 48 hours. If we get a request on a Friday afternoon, we cannot. It should be 2 business days.
48 business. Yeah.
2 business days is fine.
Okay. That's all.
Mr. Mayor, may I go?
Go ahead.
I think everyone kind of say the same thing. I wanted to mention, does this address emails? I mean, if a document, we really should be looking at ways, especially as a former clerk, to resolve the problem, having softwares and different things, looking at different municipalities around the county to see what softwares and different things that they use that's more accessible to the public,
Right.
because it is a concern. And by the way, I do have several people who have made requests. It's been 8 months. They still haven't received documents. And I'll be more than happy after the meetings to address it with whichever department that it is. But no, how do we go about emails? If it's a document that's 100 pages, do we charge for electronically sending the document? Or are we charging for the scanning, if we're being specific?
I believe the way the admin reg is written, we charge for the actual CD and the staff time it takes to do it. That's
So are we saying that all of our files are in paper? We have not digitized any of our
I'm referring to emails only. If it takes the technician, let's say an hour to get all the emails, because we've gotten requests for all emails pertaining to ATS, which is a red light camera, from since 2011, 2012 to present. That's a tedious task. It takes